Hello and welcome to the Snickerdoodle Knits YouTube channel. I am Jessica, the knitter and designer behind Snickerdoodle Knits. And in this video, I am going to demonstrate how to perform a German twisted cast on. So for this, you'll need just your yarn and your needles. This cast on creates a stretchy cast on, and so it's preferred among many knitters for projects like hats or socks where you want a stretchy cast on at the top. So to get started, this cast on does require a tail. So like if you've ever worked the long tail cast on, you have to have plenty of yarn before you start. If you know how many stitches you want to cast on, one method to measure out your stitches before you start is to wrap your yarn around your needle, the number of stitches that you need, or you could do half the stitches, like say, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So say I needed 20 stitches, I have 10 stitches here, could just double that, and then leave a bit of a tail to give yourself some wiggle room, and you also, of course, want a tail at the end of your project. For here, I'm going to cast on about 40 stitches, so I'll just take out some yarn. And then you want to take your working yarn, bring that to the right, and take your tail to the left. So the working yarn is coming up to the back here, and the tail of your yarn is coming to the front and down to the left. So to get started, you can either start with a slip knot, or you can go ahead and create a triangle with your fingers, holding, this is the tail here, holding that with your pinky, and then you can hold as many as 3 fingers down here, and then have your working yarn coming out the back. So here we have a triangle with our fingers. You can set your needle on top of the yarn, and then you kind of just create a loop by bringing the needle down towards you and then up over that yarn. So that just creates a twist there. Or instead, of course, you could create a slip knot. And I'll link that tutorial here in the cards if you want to use a slip knot instead. So now that we have either a slip knot or just this little twist to start our stitches, this will be the first stitch right here. Make sure that you have your fingers in that triangle that we were talking about. So you have your pointer finger is pulling back the working yarn, and your thumb is pulling out the tail. And then you can just hold both strands down below with whatever is comfortable for you. So the first thing we want to do, now that we have our triangle set up here, with of course the thumb through holding back the tail of the yarn, and then the pointer finger holding out the working part of the yarn, and just holding both strands of yarn down below. Now what we're going to do is go ahead and turn your hand so that the palm is facing you, so you can see your yarn clearly. And what you're going to do is you want to take your knitting needle and bring it down below the bottom strand. So that's the strand that's wrapping around the bottom of your thumb. Go ahead and bring your needle under that, and also bring it under the strand of yarn that wraps above the top. So you're bringing it under both strands of yarn here. And then we're going to bring our needle down through the center of that loop. So take your needle under both strands and into the center of that loop, pulling out. And then I find that it's easiest to kind of just move my thumb down, making sure to secure the yarn around, kind of around the knuckle of my thumb there. And then you can go ahead and twist your hand up and your needle will go over the top strand. So that's the strand that's wrapped around your pointer finger. Go over that strand and come back through that loop. And then you just let go. And that's your one stitch of your cast on. So I'll go ahead and do that again. I'll do that a few more times because it takes a few practices to really kind of start to get the hang of it. But once you get into it, you kind of have a nice rhythm. But we'll come down below the last strand under the thumb. Go under both strands on the thumb, come through the center of that loop. Now here, if you wanted to keep your thumb straight, you could, but I find that it's just natural to kind of bend the thumb. So I go ahead and bend the thumb, wrap the needle over the top of that strand, that's your working yarn, attached to your pointer finger, and bring your needle down through that loop and just let go of the loop and pull it. So we'll do that again. Have your triangle come under both strands of the thumb, through the loop, over the top, and back through the loop. Under two, between the loop, over the top, and back through the loop. Under the two, between the loop, over the top, and back through. And just like, pretty much anything in knitting, you find whatever works best for you. You'll notice that I tend to kind of support this yarn up here with my middle finger, and I don't think that's especially common, but that's what I find easiest. And that's kind of the same situation with this thumb down here. I think a lot of people kind of leave their thumb straight and come around this way and then have to maneuver through the loop. But for me, that feels very awkward and unnatural. So just make sure you're doing the correct actions as far as like going under both loops, going under both strands of yarn, through the loop and over the top of this. And however you maneuver your fingers to make that happen, it doesn't really matter. But as you can see, I kind of start to get into a rhythm. The hardest part for many people of the German twisted cast on is this coming back through the loop here, because a lot of times they have it twisted. When you don't bend your thumb down, you have that twisted, and so then you have to kind of maneuver your way back through that loop without grabbing another strand of yarn. So that's another reason I find, that's probably why I started to put my thumb down when I'm doing this cast on, because it just makes it easier to come back through that loop. So I'll walk you through one more time. Have our triangle come under the bottom of the two strands and then go completely under both strands. Bring your needle down through the loop around the thumb and then go over the top of the top strand that's wrapped around your pointer finger and come back down through the loop and let go of the loop, and you've completed that stitch. So you just continue to cast on like this, counting your stitches on your needle to know how many you have casted on. And then you'll just continue to work your project as normal as you would with any other cast on once you've completed. So here I could just start my knitting as per normal right there. So, oops. Go ahead and put that one back on. There we go. So that is the German twisted cast on. If you have questions, go ahead and replay this video. You can play it at a slower speed. Replay those techniques, watching carefully those steps and following along with your own needle and yarn to practice those techniques. If you still have questions, you can leave those in the comments below and I'll be happy to get back to you. If you liked the video, go ahead and hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the Snickerdoodle Knits YouTube channel for additional knitting tutorial content like this. I hope to see you around. Happy knitting!